Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. Paul Jasson with you. We are telecasting on as we tape today, a beautiful day in downtown Lancaster. The sun is out. We're in the springtime. We know that the good weather is coming, and we're excited about that as we head into the spring and summertime here in Lancaster and Fairfield County. Appreciate you joining us. Again, we're in the lobby downtown of Fairfield Federal. Always a fun place to be with all these folks here. Mary Snyder and everybody does such a great job of kind of making us feel welcome as we come into their lobby in the downtown location. We're going to start out today, but I love to talk about local authors. That's always an exciting thing to talk about. People who are local and are authors, and their careers are in the writing world, and they've begun right here in Lancaster or Fairfield County. That's always a fun thing to do. We don't get to do it all that often, but today is one of those times. Pleasure to have with us Emily Stalder Johnson. Emily, welcome.
Thank you.
Emily is with us, and she's a local girl. Probably born here, I would guess.
Yes.
Yep, but I know grew up here. Full disclosure, I've known Emily since she was just a little kid. So it's been a few years ago now. She wasn't the grown-up she is today, and the successful writer that she is. She was just her and her sister were just little kids when we knew their folks many years ago. So you live here in Lancaster.
Yes.
And you are a writer. That's your gig now. And again, we've already put it down that you were a Lancaster girl. So is this something that growing up you always kind of in the back of your mind, or maybe in the front of your mind, said, I'd like to do that?
Well, as early as in first grade.
Really?
That's when I realized that I wanted to be an author, and
Really?
It all started with an assignment given to me by my teacher to write and illustrate a short book and then read it to a kindergartner.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. You were in the first grade, a kindergartner, a much younger person than yourself. Have you ever gone back and told the teacher that was the impetus to get you going?
I have.
They probably love that. I'm sure they enjoy hearing about success stories. So you started that then, so now you're going through school. Is that kind of how you're gearing yourself as you move through the school system?
I really didn't know what I wanted to do as I continued to go along in school, but I always did participate in writing activities. They had Power of the Pen, and I competed in that in junior high, and really enjoyed that, and that kind of kept the fire alive with the writing. But I went through college for business and didn't really know where I wanted to go with that, and then this happened.
Here we are. Yeah, life happens.
Yeah.
So now, you're a writer. How many books you already have published?
9.
9 books already published. Emily Stalder Johnson with us, a Lancaster girl, has under her account now 9 books already published, and we'll talk about them. But so now you think, okay, I'm gonna do this writing thing. How do you land on a subject?
Well, it just kind of comes to me. Sometimes I have to think really hard and really kind of brainstorm. I have notebooks filled with ideas. But my first book, A New Hope, was just something that I've been thinking about since I was about 14, and just ideas have been developing until ultimately I wrote it.
Then you go back to your notes and kind of flesh all that out.
Oh, yeah.
So from the time you write on a computer?
Mm-hmm,
okay.
Yeah.
Typewriters, they used to have typewriters. These are things that, you actually had to click and stuff. Mm-hmm. You may know about them.
I know of them,
yes. You can read about them. If you retro them, you can look one up. But so say for that book there, when you started that, from the time you started typing out the first page to the end, what's a time frame on that?
For this one, the first one, it took a little bit longer than the other ones, but I would say no more than 6 months.
Okay, 6 months. Now, is this a book in the series?
Yes,
is this the first book in the series? So tell us what the genesis of that is. What's it about?
It just follows a young boy who unfortunately grew up in an abusive household, and it's in the 1800s, so historical America. Fiction, and it's just follows his story and how he's rescued from that situation, how he begins to find hope with a better life, with a father figure that's kind to him and who teaches him about God and faith.
And that's really what the series kind of follows, him and his movement through this process, and as you get to the latest book in the series, how many years later is that?
I'm terrible at math, but he is 14 in this book, and in that one, I believe 43.
So he's now into adulthood now, and still going through his life and his problems and everything. Is he married with children now? Has he moved on, and but still probably dealing with some of the things he's had his whole life?
Yeah, he's still healing and still dealing with, but he's in a better place now, better position, better frame of mind. Things are going pretty good for him overall.
Let's get it out there right now too. Where can these books be found, be read, be purchased?
They can be purchased directly off Amazon.com if you just search my author, my pen name, and then they're also found on BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, and I think one or two of them was featured on Target.com. So just online retailers, but mainly Amazon's probably the easiest one. Or if anyone is able to find me on Facebook, like I have a Emily Stalder Johnson author page, they can contact me through direct message, and I can sell them directly to them if they're interested.
Amazon, a good place to do this. I mean,
Absolutely.
That's a monster place. I mean,
Yeah.
Everything is available on there. So you found that works good for you too?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So now you have other books that aren't in these series, and what are those about? Each one separate?
They are all separate. They tend to follow stories with similar similar issues, family issues with alcoholism and abuse, neglect, that kind of thing. But not always. But like it's just they come to inspiration comes to me, and I just write it. And sometimes they almost write themselves.
I imagine you've probably got reams of notebooks at home with notes. Some you probably look at all the time to try to keep the juice, and some you just haven't had to gone back to. But you probably hit these now and then. Whenever you want some inspiration, you probably look up one and say, "What was I thinking here?" And you probably got things that you haven't even touched on yet. Absolutely,
and I've had some stories that I've begun and then just kind of walked away years ago, and then hopefully I don't delete them. I just save them in case I can revisit it and try to.
There'd be no deleting, because that could be a future book if that thought hits you. Now, you talk about these. Are these what you would call self-publishing books? Did you do this yourself, or have you found people that do this for a living?
3 of them have been done through publishing houses, not traditional, but like hybrid publishing, as they call it, and self-publishing. But the majority of them, I call it independent publishing, where I publish it through the Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing platform. I hire an editor, I hire a cover design artist, and then just put the files together, and Amazon pretty much does the rest, and it's very cost effective. It's basically free, except for the factor of paying your editor and everything like that.
You mentioned the Kindle thing. We haven't touched on that. Is that I guess in the world of books and things in that area, Kindle and those types of books very popular?
Oh, yes. Yeah, but luckily they're not making paperbacks or the print copies obsolete or anything, but it's a very nice option to have if you're on the move and you have your phone or
Are you able to
tablet.
get any books in the library? Is that something you care about?
I have 3 in the library so far. I have the first book and then a couple of the young adult novels in there right now.
And just in the local library?
Just that one so far.
Okay. Well, that's a good one to start out. Again, you're a local girl. You probably spent a good deal of time yourself there as a kid.
Oh, absolutely. My mom took me there very often.
Was this the one you always went to? Is this the only one you know that was there? There used to be one across the street in City Hall, what is now City Hall, on the second floor where the courts used to be. Now they're gone, and it's not used for that anymore. But that was many years ago, when I was your age. That's where we went to the library. It was on the second floor, and it's just like walking into a nightmare up there. There were so many books, and it was such a cramped area. I mean, there were just books everywhere, so it was great for them to get the building that they're in now, and even now it's pretty full over there when you go there.
Absolutely.
So what's next? Are you still writing the series? Are you still thinking about another book for your guy there? Or are you off to other tangents?
Currently, I am working on a prequel to the series. Kind of
prequel, okay.
So the story before that leads up to this story. And I am planning on writing a 7th book in the series, not including the prequel, but number 7, as there's number 6 and so forth or before. But I've had a really hard time with it. I kind of don't really want to wrap it up, so I've been kind of putting it off to the
So you
side.
think this prequel we'll wrap it up because now you've gone as far as you think you can go with him and his world?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I'm hoping that I can focus on that, and then maybe some inspiration will come
Sure.
by for the 7th one. But I'm really kind of stuck on the 7 number.
Yeah.
For
Well,
the
I mean,
series
that's
completion.
from 14 to 43, that's a pretty good run here. I
Yeah.
mean, you may have told, maybe you've utilized those stories, but then again, if you write the prequel, now, so this one is pre-14, from what, birth
It is
to
actually
14?
before his birth.
Okay.
It follows his parents and his,
What's his name?
uncle. His name is Dublin Pearson, but when he's adopted by Andy Caldwell, he takes his last name.
Okay. And so now it's pre-birth up till 14?
The prequel is actually not even, he may be born in this book. I haven't decided yet. It's really
Really haven't
way
gotten
before.
that.
I haven't
Yeah.
gotten that before. I don't know how
Yeah.
long of a book it will be, but I'm 8 chapters into it so far.
Do you decide, or does the book kind of tell you how long it'll be, how many pages?
Interestingly enough, the book tells me. The
Okay.
book will sometimes kind of guide the course of it because I think I have an idea and then something completely different happens, but I'm just as happy with it. So, I really can't tell you.
So
For sure.
have you enjoyed kind of getting to know this guy? I mean, he's like, I'm sure, a member of your family
He's like
now.
family to me. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So anywhere else you'd like to go? Any other subjects? Do you pick out the subjects before you write, or you decide I got to write, and you look around and say, okay, I'll come up with something?
Right. It just varies. It
Yeah.
really just is
Okay.
kind of. I'm really spontaneous with it, and so I can't really say for sure.
Well, that's great that you want to do this. I mean, this is just an amazing. I don't know personally that many authors, so it's very cool to know an author here that has books out on Amazon and the library here in Lancaster. That's very cool. I guess it's just a process. I mean, you've started out, you've stuck with it. How many years from the time you really started doing it till now have you been doing this?
Since 2017.
So how was COVID? Did that make a real dent in what you wanted to do?
It really helped. It gave me more time
Focused you
to
more?
focus on writing,
Yeah.
and I knocked out quite a few in the series during that time.
Yeah, well, that's it's just congratulations. I mean, this is very cool to have done this and to kind of have your dream and succeed in it as you've done. That's great. Emily Stalder Johnson, again, her books, you can find them down at the Fairfield County District Library just behind us, or any of the other libraries obviously around. You can find that. And virtually, I guess that means they'd be available anywhere in the world, because libraries are all interconnected now. So if you were in New York, you could find your book, or you could be anywhere. Have you had anybody way away that's, as you've heard, not here, local, that's read your book?
One person in the United Kingdom.
Wow. Nice. Very good. So Emily Stalder Johnson, you got a Facebook page. You can find you on that. No website, probably just off Facebook.
I have a website. I can't recall the site name, but it's the Amazon Author Central.
Okay.
You just Google it; it will pop up on.
And again, it's through Amazon, a great place to always find book. Barnes & Noble, all the typical, and their Kindle, they're all books. We're pulling for hardcover books. We like them. Good. Emily Stalder Johnson, great job. Congratulations. Best of luck in the future.
All right, well, thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Emily's with us today. We'll be back in just a moment.
You walked down the aisle and promised happily ever after. Sometimes happily ever after means ending a relationship. We know the conversations are not easy. Deciding what's best for you, your children, and your next steps takes work and communication. At Dagger Law, we know there are no monsters in a divorce, only people trying to find their way. Local, trusted, experienced. Dagger Law.
The staff that have been here know what it takes. They've been on the other side. They see what it takes to make someone comfortable, to make the family comfortable, and really what kind of support they need. And so I think that's what really makes Fairfield what it is.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our 2 locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
How can I better manage my heart condition?
From cardiac emergencies to routine visits, our experts specialize in the latest treatments to keep you feeling your best. Whatever you're searching for, you can find it at Fairfield Medical Center.
Welcome back to Fairfield Today, and it's always fun to have the mayor on as we talk about things about Lancaster, and there's always a lot going on, and certainly right now is no different from that time. Turn to our mayor, David Scheffler. Mayor, welcome.
Good morning, Paul. Well, I'm glad to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you on, able to get you on maybe every couple months and talk about things. It's harder now. You take so many vacations. It's hard to find you when you're actually here working, although maybe that's going to be a permanent thing coming up in another year. You can...
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm not the type of guy that can get up in the morning without a mission or a goal. So
we'll see how that works.
I'm investigating options. Let's put it that way.
Very good. A lot going on in Lancaster right now. We're in the spring. We're heading into the summer, but the street resurfacing, that's always a subject. I doubt if we've ever had a show where at some point in the show we've either talked about it or we tried to stay away from it, but it's always been in the room. And now, come May, it's a big deal again.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal every year.
Yeah.
As you say, the 3 mil levy that was passed in 2013 expires at the end of this year, so the money for paving in the city of Lancaster disappears on December 31st. There's a replacement levy on the ballot on May 2nd, another 3 mil levy. The original one generated $2.1 million a year. This new one will generate $3.1 million a year. So as new real estate is completed and like new manufacturing plants and market values of properties go up, it generates more. But we all know that $2.1 million in 2014 isn't the same as $2.1 million now. So what you can buy with that amount of money is significantly less. And there was an article in the Dispatch just a week or so ago that the price of asphalt went up 20% last year, and over the last 3 years it's gone up 50%. So with the 2.1 million, you can do less and less every year as inflation hits. One of the wonderful things about the 3 mil levy, it gives us matching money to apply for grants. So while we've collected about $2.2 million in the first 9 years of the levy, we've actually been able to spend $37 million on paving. Because,
that's significant.
Yes, because we can apply for grants, and all grants have some match, anywhere from the lowest is like 5% and the highest can be 20 to 25%. So some of the programs, Surface Transportation Program, Ohio Public Works Commission, the ODOT Street Paving Program, and the ODOT Safety Program, and some of the streets that we've been able to do, like 6th Avenue, we've done that over 3 years because of the length and the cost of doing that. The final piece from Maple to Cherry Street will be done this year, and we've used surface transportation money for that. But in the past, like Pierce Avenue, Kanawha, have all been grant funds. The Edie Road upgrade between Memorial Drive and North Columbus Street, which cost $2 million, was done with an ODOT Safety Program grant, and that took a long time. We made our presentation at ODOT headquarters in Columbus in 2018, and that finally got done, in 2021, I think, or late 20, because of all of the ramifications of doing that. There were 8 pieces of property we need to acquire from 6 different owners in order to do that. So every paving program has, every street that we do has some issues.
Yeah.
So we urge everybody to get out on May 2nd and vote yes, so we can continue.
Did we understand
paving.
That's the only thing on the ballot?
That is the only thing on the ballot.
Okay.
So there's no primary races for any level. So it's important that people vote. And we've done a lot of great work on our streets. In fact, one demonstration of that, in 2015, we had 1,750 pothole complaints filed with the city street department, and last year we had 350. So it's gone down consistently every year. dropped. And of course, anytime you have a bad winter with freezing and thawing, you get potholes. No matter how good the road is, freezing and thawing is a bad situation for streets.
Well, it's resurfacing is something that probably a day doesn't go by in your administration when at least it crosses your mind.
It does.
Yep.
When you drive.
Yep.
It's amazing that a lot of the public thinks that that we have the worst streets in the country, and I can assure you that that's not the case.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Dispatch article talked about some of the other cities like Worthington and Dublin, and they all have policies about they want to repave their streets every so many years, and it's like the initial 3 mil levy was for 10 years, and it's like there was no way we could have repaved all the streets in the city in 10 years. But streets wear out. So once you get paved, 15 years later, they need to repave because all the traffic and trucks and
it's never one and done.
Never one and done. It's a continuous process, and we need funding to pay for that continuous process.
And something that just flickered through my mind, I don't think we were necessarily going to talk about this, but we'll just mention it. Man, there's a big hole in Miller Park now.
There is a big
giant
hole
where the baseball field used to be.
Yes.
And what became a football field, but there's a giant hole there. That project's moving along.
It is. It won't be finished until 2025.
25, okay.
Yeah, so it's a big project, a lot of construction to go on that, and I first time I drove by there and saw the hole, I thought, wow, because I know we have to build that up for the water treatment plant, like 8 feet, I believe, and so I was surprised to see a hole.
It's pretty deep,
but the hole has gotten bigger, and I know they've been pumping concrete in there for quite some time, but the main part of the plant that you'll be able to see will actually be built up about 8 feet from where it is. And you can see the big pile of dirt down there. Yeah. We also likely will use some of the big pile of dirt out on Wiley Road from the Google construction. Yeah. Because it's going to take a lot of fill to get that built up to where it needs to be.
Yeah, well, it's just, if people, I every now and then people will say, I hadn't been by Miller Park for a while, I drove by and I can't believe what they see. Because last time we were there, maybe it was a ballpark.
Yes, it was. And everybody knows that every time it rained more than a quarter of an inch, it was flooded. So while there were ballparks there, cancellation of games were very common.
Significant.
Yes. So we have a new park that was donated out on Wilson Road by Mr. Bauer.
Merrill Bowers.
Merrill Bowers. And there will be 4 ball fields there. It is under construction. We are trying to make use of getting work done for as little money as possible, and the Ohio Operating Engineers Union has volunteered to do the grading work out there as part of their training program, and if you go out there you'll see pieces of heavy equipment out there. Yeah. Now unfortunately, when you have volunteer work going on, it doesn't get done necessarily as quickly as you hoped it would or as quickly as they promised.
Kind of their own schedule.
They're on their own schedule. So it will be coming online, but there are other ballparks in the city parks. So no ball games will be canceled because of lack of a ball field. There are other parks where the games will be conducted.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is it's been going on for years about what's going to happen at Essex. It's been going to be this, it's going to be that. There's somebody buying it, there's somebody looking at it, but it was still sitting down there and not much happening. Right. Just behind us, about a half mile down the road here, just pretty close. But it's my understanding that now maybe we are moving forward.
Yes, we're pretty certain we're moving forward. All the pieces for financing are in place, and that's a very expensive project, as you might guess. I mean, we're talking tens of millions of dollars to do anything with that. It will ultimately be 60 apartments on the upper 2 floors and retail space on the ground floor. There'll be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, and that building has a really neat feature that it's like 2 donuts put together. So there's a light well on the inside. So all the apartments will have natural light coming in.
Really?
Yeah, they'll have windows. So they're from the ground all the way up to the top, there's a light well in the middle. So, and there'll be some kind of amenity in their patio or something. So it'll be it has a fabulous view of Mount Pleasant. Some premier apartments on that northeast corner are going to have a great view of Mount Pleasant.
Nice. So that's always a plus.
It's always a plus. But the last piece was the State Historic Rehab Credit, which is $3.25 million. They had already been awarded the federal Historic Rehab Credit. They had been turned down several times at least by the state, and finally were successful in this most recent round. So I think I was quoted in the paper as I was doing backflips, but I really said back handsprings, and there's a difference. But if you all didn't see them, you missed it.
Dave Scheffler, mayor of Lancaster, we're talking about, in this case, the Essex Manufacturing Building down there on Columbus Street. And I guess that kind of segues into something here. We've seen all the apartments built on 33. We watched them, and it really doesn't do it justice if you just drive by on 33 until you go back there and see how expansive that truly is. So we've got all that going on right there, and I don't know how many, you can tell us how many in a minute. And then out there across from Lowe's on the old Cy Fulton property, that's been tremendous construction going on, still going on out there. But I guess this leads to the thing where, and again, perhaps I'm a little bit out of it on this, but I gather there actually is a housing shortage.
Oh, there's
in
definitely a housing shortage.
I
A
just
severe
can't imagine.
housing shortage.
Severe.
In not only in Lancaster, but in all of Central Ohio. I mean, Columbus just passed a $200 million bond levy. The voters passed it to support housing in Columbus, and Mayor Ginther is just beginning. I think he just had an announcement earlier this week or end of last week about how they're going to implement that program. But just as an example of how severe the shortage is, the Bend development out at Timbertop, the old Cy Fulton property, is the fastest rent-up of any project in that company's history.
Really?
And they had something like 60 leases signed before they ever had one apartment ready to lease. And as they get a certificate of occupancy for each building, it fills up immediately. The flats on Memorial, kind of across from Kruger and behind the Ohio Health building there,
right.
Their initial plan was to do phase one and then pause for a while and do phase two. Phase one rented up so fast that they just went right into phase two. And forget the pause, and it rented up completely. The new apartments, the 64 apartments that Fairfield Homes did at the site of the former East School, they rented up immediately, and they may have been all rented before they were finished, just like the Bend. So I think there's a shortage of tens of thousands of homes in Central Ohio. The population of Central Ohio is supposed to grow by 1 million by 2050. And with announcements like Intel and the Honda LG battery plant over in Fayette County, they're both, I guess the Fayette County project is a little further than Intel, but we're only 45 minutes from the Intel site.
Sure.
And there's going to be a lot of spinoff. I mean, we have been visited by several Intel suppliers to build a plant here. No Intel suppliers have made any commitments yet because of the chip market right now is in a little slump, and I think Intel just announced a 2/3 cut in their annual dividend, but certainly that's going to come back.
It's rise and fall with
you
that.
couldn't get a car for 6-8 months because they didn't have chips, and so it will come back. And I just got a tour of the Intel site a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell you they're going strong in building that thing.
That must be a massive place.
It is huge. It is huge. And it's not only fenced, they have a mound built all the way around it. So the only place you can see into it is where there are roads going in. And I think that's to keep the neighbors from having to look at construction.
Sure, yeah, because there's a lot.
There's a lot going on up there.
There'd be nothing around here that would even compare.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So it's thousands of acres. I mean, Lancaster, we don't have a site that big. I mean, we have a couple of 40, 50 acre sites, but to attract those big projects, you need hundreds or even 1,000 acres to get those big projects.
Well, there's always a lot going on, Mayor. Every day you wake up and there's always something you can look forward to say this is something today.
There's never a dull day, that's for sure.
Well, it's interesting, always fun to chat with you about the upcoming things here and housing shortage. We learn stuff every time we talk to you, so we always enjoying that. Keep things going on the water department down there, keep the parks happy, keep their diamonds moving, get them graded, get the volunteers moving.
Right. And General Sherman will be up and running. The parks now own General Sherman.
You love that?
That will be a new center. They've already got activities going on in there, but that will only expand over the next 6 or 8 months. A lot of work needed to be done in there too to get it appropriate for parks activities.
Well, and I've mentioned this before, as a West Sider, I like to tell people how nice to see General Sherman repurposed for a real function, and they tore Thomas Ewing down. So I think that's appropriate. In my mind, that's the way it always should be. Thomas Ewing never looked better than it does right now in 60 years.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. We love that.
But the important thing is
Yes.
we built new schools and we saved 5 of the old schools.
Yep.
Which is amazing, and
Yep.
it's a real testament to the schools and the citizens of Lancaster.
Oh.
South School, General Sherman, East School, Sanderson. Of course, Stanberry's still there, and hopefully will continue to be. And Tarhee, were all repurposed.
Schools
and Cedar Heights, they were all repurposed for something else.
Good luck in May. 3 mil levy. Get out and vote. That's the mayor saying that right now.
Yes.
Get out and do that. Only thing on the ballot, so it's purposeful to get out there and do it. We'll have you back. We'll chat some more. Always fun.
All right.
Mayor Dave Scheffler, Lancaster. That's a story on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.